You're listening to Morning Lifestyle with Dave, and many are returning to the office and school over the last couple of weeks, and that means that for a lot of people who've been enjoying the summer break with the thongs on and the shorts, seeing as we've had some lovely weather in Tasmania and even perhaps the tank top, they're going back to work. You don't necessarily wear the tank top and shorts to work, or do you? Have things changed? Today, joining us, we have Catherine Kennedy from People2people Recruitment. She's the Managing Director of their New South Wales branch, and she's joining us with some tips for navigating the workplace. And do you think I'd get away with it here, Catherine? I'm on radio, so no one can really see.
The tank top, yeah. Well, I was about to say, depending on your job, if you're on radio, you might be okay. Look, I don't know that the tank top and the footy shorts that people might be sporting on their summer holiday would necessarily fly, but there's certainly a loosening or a relaxing of the traditional kind of dress codes in workplaces. Absolutely, that's certainly something that we have found. So over half of the Australian workers that we surveyed have chosen a more casual working wardrobe. So, it's much more that you kind of just wear your regular clothes to work as opposed to necessarily having the work clothes that sit and never are they worn except for when you go into the office and you put your tie on, and those days are all but gone.
Why do you think that is?
So I think there's a couple of contributing factors. Look, I think that, and obviously if you're in a frontline profession or there's some kind of specific reason for uniforms, that's different. But throughout the COVID period when we had people, not able to go into workplaces, and so people are working from home, people just got quite used to being a little bit more casual and being a little bit more comfortable, and that tended to trickle back in when people came back into the office. The other thing I think is that there's much more of organisations are accepting, and both employees are demanding to be able to be a little bit more authentic at work and be able to bring them their whole selves to work. So it used to be that you have to dress to impress, and now there's a bit of an idea of that you dress to express, so that you can express who you are and you can be genuine and true and authentic to who you are in the way that you dress as well.
Of course, obviously, this doesn't apply to certain professions. I could imagine the police officer who turned up in his red track pants would probably be frowned upon because he was supposed to be wearing his uniform. And
Exactly.
there are certain jobs that do come with uniforms. I'm thinking of lawyers. They definitely have a uniform. They always tend to dress the same. I don't think too many lawyers would walk into a court in a pair of jeans.
No, you're right. And look, I think there's absolutely still an expectation that you are dressing appropriately for your market or for your industry or for your profession. So obviously police officers is one example, but even if we take the lawyer example, yes, in the courtroom they have a uniform in inverted commas that they would wear, but do they necessarily need to adopt that same work style or way of dressing when they're in the office, where they're only going to be surrounded by their colleagues, where they know they don't have any client appointments? There's just been a little bit more flexibility is given now to you dress for your day. So you dress for what you've got on, and that might not be, you may not need to have a tie on or a full suit on that day because of the type of work that you're doing.
Actually, thinking of the ties, one of our politicians down here, Nick McKim, he led the way many, many years ago by refusing to wear a tie no matter where he went because he said he didn't like them. So he just didn't wear them. And that trend obviously seems to be catching on.
It's pretty rare to have to say that I notice a tie now, because it's really the exception and not the rule. And, I'm in the CBD and walking around, lots of people in, corporate kind of roles. And, there's not too many ties around anymore, or very much a special occasion kind of thing, I think.
What do you think has led to is it the fact that they're uncomfortable and very difficult to tie?
Oh, well, look, that's probably part of it. I remember when I was at school, I had to wear the tie. I had to learn. My grandfather taught me the Windsor knot. And yes, it was, we'd go off to school with it on, and then as soon as you got out of sight of a grown-up, you'd loosen it and you take it off. So I think there's definitely a comfort factor. And yeah, I think it's just in line with a relaxing of dress code, across the workforce. So if I look around my office today, and these are people in corporate, professional sorts of positions, and a number of them are wearing sneakers. There's T-shirts around the place. I think the key thing is, as long as employees are dressed in a way that they can be appropriate to do any aspect of their job. So if the people in my team needed to go out and meet with a client, I know that they'd be able to, they're dressed for the audience that they'd be pitching to or that they would be engaging with. So I think that's kind of the critical thing, and organisations are adapting to that as well.
And I suppose so long as there's a policy in place and everybody knows that if they're going to do role X or role Y during the day that they need to do this, and if they're not, they're just going to be behind their computer all day, they can wear something else. So long as it's pretty clearly spelled out that you shouldn't have too many clashes, I wouldn't have thought.
Yeah, that's right. And that would be my advice to, any employer is to, just to make sure that you do have a policy. It doesn't need to be overly prescriptive, and showing my age a bit, but many years ago it was, you have to wear stockings, you have to have heels, you have to have this. It's nowhere near that prescriptive anymore, but there does need to be some kind of a policy so that if you do find yourself in a situation where you need to have a conversation with somebody about the way that they're coming to work, then it's not a personal criticism, it's not anything personal about that individual, it's about, the policy of our business is X, Y, Z, and that's why you need to, not have your belly button on show, for example. Having some kind of a policy is important, but it can be much less prescriptive these days, and employees demand, and if you're wanting to secure and hold on to really good talent in the market, that you can give people some expression and give people a little bit of freedom, and that's something that we're finding across lots of different employers.
Catherine, as an avid golfer, golf clubs notoriously in the past, going back 20, 30 or 40 years, were real sticklers for what you could wear in a clubhouse and what you couldn't, what you could wear on the golf course and what you couldn't. There was one particular course here in Hobart that if you wished to play in shorts, you had to wear the knee-high socks. All of that has now sort of been relaxed, which is probably a good thing for people being encouraged to take that sport up.
Yeah, I would imagine so. Yeah, I know that in years gone by, going into any of the clubs, whether it be golf clubs or anything else, it was very, very prescriptive. But I think it adds to a bit of diversity, and that's probably true in workplaces as well. That we don't need to be all cookie cutters of each other and clones. Everyone's got their own unique experience and their own unique background, and being able to bring that authenticity to whatever context you're in, I think is a good thing.
So we're wearing different things to the office now, and the times are changing, but that is just a statement of life, I think, Catherine, isn't it?
Yeah, indeed. That's absolutely true.
Wonderful to spend some time with you and hear your thoughts on this topic.
Cheers. Thanks. All the best, David.